Hello and welcome. It is February 4th, 2025. My name is William McBurrow. I am the group leader of the Alignable in Technology Industry Group. Thanks for joining us for another episode of our Alignable Microsoft Productivity Power Hour. This is an event that we have on a monthly basis led by Harry and Nakia Carter of NTC Tech. They've graciously volunteered their time to put on this training event on a monthly basis to help us unlock all things Microsoft 365. Most of us, myself included, use the Microsoft products for our businesses. And most of us only use a small percentage of the capabilities of these tools. And if we were able to fully leverage what these tools can do for us, it's going to help us become more productive, more efficient, and just get a more return on our investment. So hence, within the technology industry group, we have our monthly Alignable Microsoft Productivity Hour. So thanks to all of you who have joined. As usual, this event is going to be recorded, and the recording will be made available within the group on Alignable. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Harry and Nakia. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, William. Hold on one second. Okay, now I'm ready. Okay, so let's jump right in here to our Alignable Microsoft Productivity Power Hour for the month of February. And of course, I lost the 1 second. There it is. Okay. So welcome. Want to remind you about what this group is about. We are a Microsoft technology group, mostly focused on Microsoft Office 365, which could be Microsoft 365 or Office 365, and the components therein, like OneDrive and SharePoint and Teams and Office and Forms, as well as some things that are complementary and work well in the platform, such as Power Apps, Power Automate, and even some Power BI. The perspective of this monthly meeting is from mostly an end user perspective, and it's also good for business owners to come and understand the technology, especially if you're using the tech or you're interested in moving to it. But we'll also have sessions on things like being able to be that citizen developer. That's one of those sessions we're going to have like today as well. We've done, I think, that for the last 2 sessions. So we got about 2 more to do. And then we may get into some other overview-like topics before we get into some more developer stuff. But expect that type of blend of topics from the end user to the show you how to build something. These sessions are monthly, always the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern. And this is a demo and Q&A type environment. So we'll have that live demonstration and we'll open a Q&A session at the end so that you can get all your questions answered. We also would like to be able to start featuring some of the questions or doing some of the things that you would like to see. So we have a place at the end where you'll be able to submit your questions or the different topics that you would like to see in the coming calls. So we would love those topic requests and any questions. So my name is Nakia Carter, as William said, co-CEO of NTC Tech. We are part of the Technology Smart Connect group that William runs. And you can see all of my street cred here on this slide. I'll be co-speaking and co-hosting with Harry Carter, who is also a member of the same Smart Connect, also co-CEO for NTC Tech. And you can see his street cred on this slide. Now, we love to see your cameras on. So if you like to have your camera on, but it's not mandatory, just note that if you do have your camera on, you will be captured by the recording. But If you don't want to have your camera on, that's fine. But we do love to see your face and be able to understand from your facial expression if we might be going too fast or too slow, if you might have a question. But it's not mandatory. Also, when you have a question, please use the chat window as soon as you have the question, because we may not be able to have it might not be easy to pause right in the middle of whatever's being said to break off for the question, and you might not want to interrupt, but we don't want you to lose your question, so please use the chat window. Let us know what questions you have and we will make sure that we address them. As always, we have to give the cloud disclaimer. This is cloud technology. Cloud technology is always being constantly updated. So there may be discrepancies between the slides that you get if there's any additional data in the slides that we give you. There may be some discrepancies, as well as you might see us fumble around a little bit if Microsoft moved a button, which can be common. But that is that could be an active thing for you to see how you just stay calm and just look around because the button just got moved somewhere. But please excuse if any of that happens during this presentation. All right, so now we're going to jump right in. For the last the last session since we've been beginning, for the most part, we've had a presentation of stuff before, but we've talked a lot about Power Apps and SharePoint over the last few sessions. So instead, we're going to jump straight into the demo. We're going to start off with reviewing what we did last week. So Harry will do that part. And then I'll bring it back to showing you how to build a true Power App, because last week and the week before, we saw how we can customize a SharePoint list form with a Power App. This time we're going to create a true Power App using a SharePoint list and a different one than we've used before. And then we got a little show and tell. So Harry will show you some more robust apps that we are sure will be very interesting to you. All right. So next up is Harry. Go ahead and take it away for your review of last week.
All right, thank you very much, Nakia. All right, so as of last week, we went through Office 365, and one of the tools that's in Office 365 that we use is SharePoint. SharePoint, we explained, it can be your center hub of everything, where everything come together for collaboration, organization, things of this nature. We showed how it could be designed with colors, with your own logos and information on it. As you go down, how would you be able to, use buttons to be able to go into convey different information that you want to convey to your team or someone within your organization or external of your organization as a guest. We show how that you could use different links to be able to go into different areas or different departments into secure area where you would work when collaborate and have document libraries and things of that sort. We also showed how we be able to pull in things like Power BI to be able to show analytics to your system, how things are working within your system, how you can pull those Power BIs right here onto the home page. We also last week, as Nikki spoke last week, about creating a list and having a custom form created from that list. We did that as well last week. And show how you could embed that directly into the page where they have easy access, where they could fill it out and send it and be automatically sent to someone in the end. And it also showed how I can go back to the same page once you finish with it. We also showed that you can also set up things like events, calendars, that each one in the group or everyone that has understanding of when things is happening, when things is due, when things will be going on. We also showed you how that it could create news. So if you wanted to provide news to your organization or anyone within that organization that need to know news, that you broadcast daily, newsletters, blogs, articles, and things like that, you can feature these things right here on this front page. We also added in a dashboard. This is a Viva Connect dashboard. This is another thing that comes in, another tool that comes with the Office 365 suite. Depends on what license you have. You have Visa Connect, which allows you to have things like apps and time off requests and things of that nature embedded within uh, connected cars. It will allow you to connect to things like Teams on your cell phone, things of that nature. We also added another feature, which is Viva Learning. Viva Learning allows you to help keep your organization up to date on their learning, on their understanding of things. If they have a learning path that they need to be able to do, you can create a learning path and assign it to different members of your organization. We also added in org photos, organization of the photos for the organization, things that help build rapport amongst your employees, to keep retention, things of that nature, make them feel a part of the organization. And we had an org chart at the end. This org chart, it feeds off the data that you have in the Office 365. As you see, we don't have our complete organization set up because you don't see Nikki up here and you don't see the other 4 employees that we as well, but they're not assigned into the demo site. Also on the side, we have frequently asked questions. So this save time, to save headaches from having to try to call someone or get in contact with for frequently asked questions, things that will be easily answered within documentation behind individual buttons, as well as a place to have a conversation. Whereas though, then you can ask questions like, what are we having for lunch today? Or what do you want to do for the Christmas party next year? Or things that's collaborative that, brings people together, that allows them to get to know each other, understand each other, build a more cohesive unit. We have the weather and we have the time on here as well from the area that we're in. So you understand if you're inside working and then all of a sudden you look up, you got windstorms and snow coming, you need to get home. This is let you know this is what's going on. We also added a countdown clock. The countdown clock shows, allows you to be able to count down activities that's coming up, major activities that's happening that everyone's been working for. Everybody's looking forward to. They know when it's going on, how long they got every day. They see how much time they have left before they have to have things done. We also showed them how to be able to come in and add and change permissions and how granular you can get down into the permission structure and how you could change what these permissions can do from the internal and who can get into these permissions. Okay. Back out of here, go all the way into that. You can create permission levels, access requests. How deep do you want to get into these? How much can they actually do? We got into a lot of this last week as well. But now I want to go back to, let's go back to the home page. And today we will continue on how we be able to create more apps and more things for collaboration, for organization, and add it to these pages. So this could be the home page, that central place where you come to be able to go to all different areas of the organization. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Nikki. So Nikki can show you how you can actually build a special app to be able to put in here on this page that will make this page more robust and more useful to our employees or clients.
All right. Now let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Now, as Harry said, we were looking at the pages and everything that we were discussing last week, how we built up those pages around the app, that we had converted a SharePoint list form to be more fancy, more robust, to have different colors and things like that. Now, instead of doing that this time, like I said, we're going to build a Power App that's going to go on top of SharePoint, but it's going to go on top of SharePoint in a more robust way, in a way that's accessible from the desktop as well as accessible from a mobile phone, or accessible from a mobile phone through the Power App. Now, when you have a SharePoint list, and I'll go over how I created this SharePoint list really quickly in a minute, the list form looks like this. So I just clicked on the add new item. It's very plain, you know, it gets the job done. People can fill it out. There is data being requested, certain descriptions being given for the type of data that's being asked for, but the different data that's being requested. We even had some data that's required, like the start date. The manager has to be put in there in order for this form to even be submitted. So there's a bunch of things in here that this form does, but it's very plain looking. You can't modify the look and feel. You can't add colors. You can't add logos. You can't move the fields around easily. So we're going to put a Power App on top of it. Also, if you look at it on a mobile phone, it'll look somewhat similar to this. So still kind of cut and dry, and not as robust. So we're going to change that. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how, or what are the things that went into the SharePoint list. So the last time, or the last two times, we had looked at an employee expense reimbursement app. It was built off of a quick list of a couple of fields for collecting information for the employee to get reimbursed. This time we're going to do a time off request. And here are the components, just so you see it. I'm just going to go into the list settings. And you see the different columns that we have. We have the leave type. We have title. Well, first of all, title is here. This is the one column that always comes with every list or library. We have our leave type, which I created. It's a choice field. We have our start date, our end dates, which are both time and dates. We have the reason, which is a multi-line of text. I also made it rich text so that people can bold and italicize and do all the rich text stuff. And then manager, who is going to be called from the people or group within inside of SharePoint. So all of the user accounts that we have inside of this environment can be pulled through to find out who the manager is. So the person will select their manager. Then there's these system columns, modified, created, and created by. These, like title, are made every time you make a list or a library. So you always get modified, created by. You always get those columns. All right. So I'm going to go back to the time off requests just so you can see the list again, what it looks like when you look at it from a user's perspective. There's the title, the leave type that they choose, a choice, time and date for the start and end dates, multiple lines of rich text for the reason, and the manager, who is going to be chosen from people or groups, which is going to come from your Office 365 tenant. So now, how did we put a Power App on top of this? Now, before, what we had done is we had gone to integrate, we gone to Power Apps, and then we customized the list form. Now, this sticks the form directly to the list. So it's kind of, there's some pros and cons with it. If you're using the SharePoint app, it may come up looking fine. But if you're just trying to pull it up mobily, it may come up looking a mess. But there's a way to create a full Power App, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we got to go to the actual Power App Studio to do so. We click on the app switcher or the app launcher and click on Power Apps, and it opens Power Apps in a new tab. And then when we get here to the Power Apps home screen, we're going to want to go to Create. Oh, as soon as the thing stops. There we go. All right. We want to go to Create because we're about to create a whole new Power App on top of this SharePoint list. Now, we could use a blank app, and that has you create the whole app from scratch. So you have to create all of the forms, all of the different screens and things like that. We can't use Dataverse because we're not doing a Dataverse table. We're using SharePoint. Excel and SQL, all the rest of these are out of the picture because we're doing SharePoint. So we can only do a blank app or use SharePoint. Now, I like to use the SharePoint one when I'm doing when I'm going to do an app on a SharePoint list because it gives us a 3-screen app already that we can start from. So I'm going to click on that. And then it takes me to the screen where I start my connection. So the first thing I do is I need to say where I'm going to connect to. So there's only the one SharePoint in here. So that's what I choose. And then it's going to say, what type of site do you want to connect this to? Now I want to go to the home intranet demo site because that's the site we're in. If you see the to the other tab that we were just in a second ago, that's the name of the site. So I'm going to click on that. And then the list that we were going to is that this time, instead of the reimbursement expense app, we're going to go to the time off request. So when I click on that, Power Apps is going to come on. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't click connect, sorry. And then click connect. Power Apps is going to actually do some magic where it does kind of start creating the app for you. It's the same thing like we saw when we first started creating the reimbursement expense app, where when I went to customize the form, it kind of gave me a okay, I'm gonna skip that. It gave me a app to start with. So you kind of get this starter app. And like I was saying before, there are different screens that the SharePoint one starts you off with. Now, if you chose the blank one, you wouldn't get any of this stuff. Excuse me. Everything would be blank. You wouldn't have the screens, you wouldn't have the forms, you'd have to create everything from scratch. But because it's a SharePoint app, we know that we want to be able, our folks to be able to see the different things that were submitted. So they have a browse screen. We want them to be able to click into any of those options. So we have a detail screen and see more details. And we also need a screen for editing the data and for new data. So we have our edit screen. One of the first things that you're probably looking at this and saying, well, that's a little weird. How do we get rid of that? Are these two things, the reason and manager. Now for this demo, we are going to stick to the edit screen, the new/edit screen when we develop this app out. We don't have a whole lot of time to develop all the screens out, but we could possibly develop some more of those in later sessions. But for now, we're going to concentrate on the edit screen. You could keep it in this type of mode where it's in mobile mode view, but I can also change the layout. Now, normally, because I like the different I like the longer form, the mobile display. Usually I'm developing a Power App and I'm going to put it on a SharePoint page or put it into Teams. So the mobile version, people don't like that so much when they're trying to look at it in the desktop or the Teams application through the Teams application. They like that lot wider layout. So I can go to display. It's in portrait mode. I can choose landscape. And it's going to change the orientation. So it's kind of like in a long view like that. It makes the form a little bit wider. We'll see that in a minute. Kind of changes around some of those fields. We'll also see that in a minute. Another thing I like to do is I like to name the app, give it the description, and I like to change the icon. Now I'm just going to name the app. Let's see. Leave requests. App or submitting your leave. Oops, leave. Okay. And then I can change the icon. Whoops, let me add the icon by clicking the add. Oh, actually, I don't want to add the icon. I want to change it. Sorry, got to click the drop down. And then I'm going to choose a different icon. Let's see. Maybe I'll just choose the home. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to hit that fast. So I can go back to the three dots and then go back to settings. I can also change the icon's color and the fill background and things like that. And there's a bunch of other settings that we can do here, but we're going to leave it the way it is for now. And we're going to go back to the app itself. Now, like I said, it kind of rearranged some things. So this whole form is like longer, but the fields are still in the same order. And we can continue with our design now. But before we really get into design, like I said before, you're probably looking at this, the reason, and the manager, and you're saying that's not readable. That's not a good thing for our folks to have to work through. So, for example, if somebody, I go to play the app now, just so you can see what it looks like in live version. Also, when you're looking at it in live version, you have the ability to switch from the tablet and the phone views. So if you want to see it in different views, you have the opportunity to see that as well. Because these apps, once they're built, they are responsive. But anyway, going back to this thing. If a person wants to choose their manager, here's all the people, but that, choosing somebody by their email address and with all this, funky stuff on the front of it, nobody wants to do that. That's not readable. So we need to change that. We also need to change this so that it doesn't show because remember when we created the SharePoint list, we created a rich text field. What that rich text field does is it puts in HTML code in the background. This field right here from the Power App is showing it in plain text. So showing it in plain text is showing all the HTML markup, which we don't want. So I'm going to close this preview and I'm going to, it's just saying, did you know you could test it by clicking the Alt key to activate the controls and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, now I'm going to make some changes to these two fields because this is, something that really needs to be done. So I'm going to go to the manager card. I'm going to hit the edit field. And then I see the list of fields here. Now for reason, let me go to the reason. So that drop down for reason, I can change the control type. So right now it's edit text. I need to change it to edit rich text. So once I change that, and now the reason, even though, because it's starting to show up. There we go. Okay, it took a minute for the box to come in. Now the reason box is a little bit out of whack. We'll have to change what that looks like. But we don't have all the rich text. I'm sorry, the HTML tags around the text. And we have the rich text controls now, which matches what we would have had on the SharePoint list. For the manager, though, you may think, okay, so I was able to change that here. I should be able to go here to the manager and change it to something that makes sense. No, okay, no. You can't change it here, which is annoying, but that's the way they made the change to this field. So if it's a people or group field, you're trying to get the display name to show as opposed to the internal system name of a person's account, then you need to go to the field itself. Let me see, because I had to write it down because they changed it to the property to edit. Okay, and then edit that. Okay, but this time instead of last time I clicked on the whole card. Let me just back up just a little bit. The last time I clicked on the whole card, this whole data card inside of the form. This time I'm just clicking directly on the field itself. And then I need to open the properties pane. So if that isn't open, you could click on this little box up here, and that opens the properties pane. And then I can click on the edit. So once I click on edit, now we're about to cook with some grease here, because this is where I can change the primary text and the search field so that it shows the display name as opposed to the internal name of the system. So I change it there. That way, if they do a search, they can search on the display name, and also the display name will show up in the field itself. Okay, so we took care of that stuff. I'm going to hit the save button. If it's not connected directly to your SharePoint, if this Power App is in a customized SharePoint list form, then you have to hit the the save button. It will not automatically save. So you make sure you hit that save button every once in a while, because I don't know about you, if you've been in that college situation where you've lost a term paper. That was me back in the day before Word had autosave. Remember those days for those of us who are old enough to remember and act accordingly. All right. So now we can get more into design of this form, making this form pretty. And I'm going to spend about 15 minutes or so designing as much as I can on this form and see how far we go. And then we're going to be looking at some of the possibilities, some show and tells. All right. One of the things you might want to do, besides making this text smaller and stuff, but we'll get back to that, is this whole bar up here and how it looks and the colors and all of that to the bar. Also, how big these things are. I normally like to make my icons and things bigger. So what you can do is you can go to the action bar up here and, actually can't go to the action bar because it looks like they moved it. So here's the size over here on the properties pane that will allow me to change the size of the thing. So I'm going to change the height to, oh, wait a minute. No, is that? Yeah, I think that's going to be. Unless they made a change on this. There we go. All right, cool. They didn't make a change on that. All right, so now I made my X a little bit bigger, but it's got to fit in the box. So I need to take some of this padding out. Let's say 5, 5, 5, and 5. Oh, and then it made it a bunch bigger because now it has more space. Okay. After I change my height and everything, now I can adjust it. I've changed some of that padding to remove some of the dead space around it. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. So I made the height 49 and all the padding 5. I'm just going to do the same thing to this one. What did I say that was? Oh, no, it's 49. Okay, 49. So I just need to get rid of the padding, most likely. That's what the problem is. 5, 5. And 5, yes, that was what the problem was. Now I have bigger buttons that I like. Also, I'm going to move this text so that it is center aligned. And then I'm going to make it bigger. So here is the size. Let's say we'll make it 20. See what that looks like. Let's make it 24. See what that looks like. Okay. Actually, I'm going to make it left aligned and I'm just going to modify the box here so that it fits the text for the most part. I also like to move all my buttons to one side because I like to have my logo here. So we're going to add a logo to this top bar. All right. So I just clicked inside the bar so that I make sure that the logo is going to be added to the top bar. I hit the insert. And now I'm going to add a image, which isn't up here, which is funny. I'll just go ahead and do a search on the search bar and click on image. And then it's going to give me an image placeholder. Now it's all outside of the bar where I want it to be, but it actually is living inside of the bar. If you look at the edit screen here on the tree view, we're inside of the edit screen. It's right here, right before the edit form. The edit form is this part of the screen. The image is in the bar, so it's up there. But I need to adjust my bar down. I need to make some adjustments so that my logo can actually fit within the space allotted. All right. Maybe I'll probably leave that alone, but let me center it. And then bring this, bring this down and this down so it's more center. Okay. Now you see title is up here. It's because this whole thing is overlapping. This form is overlapping the bar. So I need to move the form. In order to do that, I'm going to click on edit form here. That selects the whole form for me. And then I can adjust it to be under the bar. So it starts under the bar. Okay. So there we go. Now let's add that logo. I could click on it and then I can hit the over here on the properties. There's the upload. There's also stock images. So if I wanted to use a stock image, I could, but I'm gonna go ahead and use our logo here. Uno momento as I go find our logo. Here and redo. Okay. All right. Now here's my logo. Might actually move this over. I meant to choose the one with no background, but I chose the wrong one. So, oh, and you're not gonna, wait a minute. There we go. I'm sorry, I could not get it to choose it first. I was gonna choose one with no background, but this is what we have for right now. So I'll just let this stick here. Okay. Now, if I want to change, like, let's say the text color, the text, background colors, things like that, all of that stuff is on the action bar. Whenever you click on the item, the action bar will change and give you the options that are available for whatever it is that you clicked on. So I have the different colors for the alphabet, for the text. I have the background colors. So if I wanted to do something like make this background orange behind this text, I could. Doesn't make sense, so I'm not going to do it. But what I do want to do is change the whole bar's color. So what I did was select the bar, and I'm going to, click on background color, and then say I want to make this a darker shade of blue, like that. Then I can choose that, and that happens. That works. Okay. Now there's a few more things we can do, like any of these fields that we want. We can always change any of the font, change the size, change whether it's bold, semi-bold, normal, or lighter. Change the color. Change the alignment. Change the color. We can put a border around it. Change the border's color, the style. It already has a border. It's a thick line with no dashes, but I could change the color of it. I could change the style of that. I could change the thickness if I want the border to be thicker. And I think all of that's pretty cool. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. Same thing with these labels. For me, I normally like to change all my labels to be bold so that it stands out from the actual text that's going to go in the box. And I like to make it bigger than the text that's in the box. So sometimes I make it like a 14 or something like that. I also like to make sure that my required asterisks are red. And the reason for that is red is the color of emergency, the color of pay attention to me. And because it is a required field, I want people to know that this is required. So I'm going to put that in red. And I'm going to make it bold so that it stands out a little bit more as well. Same thing with this one down here. That way people don't miss it. All right, so whoopsie, bold and red. Yeah. All right. All right. Now I could spend time doing all of that to all of these other fields, but I'm going to show you a little bit more and not waste time just doing all of the formatting on each one of these fields. Another thing that you might want to do is like formatting the chevron on the end of this field. So you have to click on the actual field itself, not on the card, on the field itself. You go to the properties, and remember, if you can't see the properties, you open up the properties pane by clicking on that button. And then there's the chevron color. So that if I want to choose, let's see, this thing is the darker blue. There we go. I just clicked on that, made that the darker blue. Or let me make it something a little bit more standout so you could see it a little bit more easily. I'll use our other color, even though this isn't our orange, but I'll go ahead and use that. Okay. All right. You can also do the same thing to the calendar, but the calendar is a bit more tricky. When you click on this field and you get the calendar field and this little chevron right there, you go to the side and you're like, but where's the chevron thing? I don't see it. It's not there anymore. It used to be there. It's not there anymore. So now you got to go under advanced. And then it is the GB. It is the icon background. I'm sorry, the icon fill. Icon fill. So you have to use RGB here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I have a little helper app for helping me find colors as soon as it hopefully opens up. If not, I'm just going to have to choose some random colors unless you could look up some colors for me, Harry. And my color generator thing isn't opening. Let's see. I want to make this, and I cannot remember the color set. Oh, now it opens. Okay, now I have some color. Sorry, folks. It took a minute for it to open. So 24, 41, 87. 24, 41, 87. Oh, whoops. That colored the icon, not the, sorry, that was the icon fill, not the background. So let me actually go back. I'm going to hit the back button. But before I do that, I'm just going to grab this real quick. Control C. I'm going to make this 255. So it should be back to 255 so that it can, well, won't let me do it. Okay. I can't use the back button, so I'm just going to have to put them back in here. 255. Whoopsie. 255 and 255. Okay, so now it's back to white. Apologies. I did mean the icon background. There we go. Now it was the slight color change. So the background is now that dark blue as it was at the top. Same thing can happen with any of the fields. Like say, for example, this field, if I want to change, looks like the size of the text internal to the field, I can just change it here. And I think it was 12 something. Anyway, there we go. I can change the text the text size of the text that can be entered into the field as well by clicking on the field itself and then choosing the text size. And then this one I think was 14 and bold. Okay. All right. So there are some changes here that I can use. So now I'm going to go and just play this real quick, but I'm going to start from the detail screen, even though we didn't use the detail screen, and only because I want to pull up the new form. All right. So I'm going back to the detail screen and I'm going to preview the app. Whoops, not the detail screen. I meant this screen. I meant this screen, not that screen. So I want to click on the plus button because the plus will allow me to create a new item. And here's my form. Now, it's ugly because I haven't finished doing everything, but I have the ability to add the title. My leave type is in here and I have all my different leave types. I can choose the start date with the time, end date, all of that. All right. Couple more things before we get into looking at some of the art of the possibles. Each of these buttons, this is another reason why I like using the SharePoint as opposed to using the custom form, a blank form, because it comes with these buttons already pre-programmed. Each of these buttons has actual code behind it that allows certain things to be done. Like when I click on that button, when I did it earlier, it opens the new form of the edit form. So the version of this form that's in edit mode for as a new form, as opposed to a form that's editing content that's already there, navigates to that screen, and then the transition is none. There's no real, it just flips the screen. There's no fancy transition. So the same thing on like the edit screen. So these buttons right here, like this button, resets the form and then takes you back to the details, not the details screen, the browse screen. Takes you back to the browse screen. So it's when you're using, going to create a app in SharePoint. Let me also hit that save. Use the SharePoint app template as opposed to the blank one, unless you really want to build everything from scratch, which you can, but I wouldn't. And then you got to remember to publish it. So I had to hit the publish button. It's going to say, do you want to publish this version of the app to the SharePoint list? And yes, I do. So I'm going to hit that, and it's starting to publish right now. So I'm going to just wait a second and wait for it to be published. And then when we go back to the SharePoint list, it should be there. Okay. It says publish successful. All right. So now let's go back to the SharePoint list. Let's refresh the page, and hopefully it actually did get over here. So I'm not looking crazy, but there is a possibility that I might look crazy. We'll see in a minute. Yep, and I'm going to look crazy for a minute. Sometimes, even though it says it is published, it still takes a minute before it actually gets over there to the list, and so that you see it when you actually. Oh! Actually, I forgot. I created a Power App, a true Power App, not a custom SharePoint list customized form. So it won't make it over there. It's published into the Power App library that will be on the person's phone, so they can get the Power Apps app from their mobile store, download it, and then they can use the app through that app on their phone. Or the app can be published to a SharePoint page or published to Teams like we showed y'all last week. If we still want to customize the SharePoint list form, we have to come here and we're going to have to do the integrate and then do that the whole design all over again. Now, one thing I used to be able to do, I haven't tested this out, but you might be able to still do it, is copy all of the stuff off of the other form and paste it into the other form and then reconnect all the fields. Can be a little bit annoying, but not really reconnect all the fields, add all the fields back. But that could help you get some of the formatting back without having to do a whole lot of everything all over again. All right, so that's why it's not there. And I didn't mean to open it up on my phone, but I realized y'all are not going to be able to see it very well. So hopefully next time I'll be able to have that set up to be able to show you what's on my phone. But I have to find that application again. So without further ado, we've already gone over an extra 4 minutes over the time that I said I allotted for doing the design. But we saw a lot of the design being done. And now we're going to switch back to Harry, who's going to show you some more robust apps. And then we'll close out. All right, so let me stop sharing. Okay. Now, while he's about to share his screen, looks like we have a question. How does one keep track of all the changes Microsoft makes to the interface? You subscribe to their inside of the Office 365 Admin Center. There's a place to subscribe. Folks being everybody or certain people to Microsoft's updates that happen. Um, Sometimes we get daily updates. You can get, I think, the digest, or you can get like the single ones. But that's one way. Keeping up with all of Microsoft's, blogs and announcements and stuff is another way as well. It can be hard, but some of these changes are just, you don't really try to keep up with it. You just adjust. And what I mean by that is you just look around. The button moved somewhere. They most likely did not get rid of the button, but where did they move it? So you have to kind of, use a little bit of curiosity and look around and find where it moved to, and or do a search if you can't find it. Then somebody most likely would have written about it by now, or reach out to a partner who can help you. All right, Harry.
All right, thank you for that, Nikki. Can you see my screen? All right, so Nikki just got finished starting, giving you the starting point of what would be a leave request form or app that will be able to use on your phone, put on a SharePoint page, or use on a tablet. Here's a little bit more since we didn't have a lot of time to build it out, but it could be much more robust. You could have it where as though you have leave balances. How many vacation days do you have? How many sick days do you actually have? Floating holidays? Do you have jury duties? Things of that nature. And as you take those days off, these times go down. So you know exactly how many you have. What are the company holidays? What is this app about? Leave request. You can actually create a request right here in the app and say exactly what it is that you want to do. Have a workflow behind this so the person that this is supposed to be submitted to, once you hit submit, it goes directly to them. They're notified that you want this leave request to happen. And it's not stuck in, lost in email, or you don't have to fill out a piece of paper and send it to walk it down the aisle and give it to your manager, and then it sits on his desk. Also, you could get furthermore into different more apps like park inspections, things of that nature. Those apps can be created into a lot more different things, where you're doing inspections on what type of what is the park would do? Is it any good? Then when you went there, then you inspected, was it what it's supposed to be? Was it up to par? You can create a service desk, whereas though any type of tickets that you have that's within your organization for your computers. Something is broke. Your Office 365 ain't working. Instead of them calling you or emailing you directly, you can create a ticket system where it goes to the people that can actually help you get those things fixed. It gets so in depth whereas though you can talk what's going on at the time it's happening. What is it in progress? Is it closed? Is it on hold? Why? Why is this ticket on hold? Has this ticket been closed? Yes. These things have, still missing a monitor in the docking station. Why? You can go into it directly and find out, break it down to what is it that we need to know that's going on with this ticket. And then this thing can also be connected to a Power BI to know how long is it taking these tickets to be answered? How long is it taking for these tickets to be closed? This helped downtime. How often are your people sitting down waiting for that stuff to get fixed, get back to work? And how much is that costing you per year? You also can create a suggestion box where the people can give you different suggestions on how to do different things that they'd like to see within the organization. And you made it, encourage, collaboration, encouraging people to speak to each other, encouraging, helping with your retention rate. And a lot of these apps that's built inside the app store, the way you can actually come in, go to that detail, and you be able to get their links or that app ID. And you could take that very app ID and go to your SharePoint page. Now you can either put it in as a button, or you can actually bring it in as an app, and it will bring it up on the page directly in your SharePoint site if this is where you want it to be. Or if it looks better for you, you can actually grab, instead of the app itself, you can grab the link to that app. And this will allow you to do things like put it behind a quick link. And just like that, you have access to your Power App all in one place to be able to do a lot of different things, from have one central area to be able to do a lot of different things. And with that, I hope you see the art of the possibility. And I'm going to switch it back over to Nikia to close us out.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. So one thing Harry was mentioning, but forgot that just to mention that Teams, you can also put it in Teams as well.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. All right. So we're on the conclusion. We're about to wrap up here. So integrating Power Apps with SharePoint significantly enhances the platform's capabilities. By transforming SharePoint into a dynamic application platform, organizations can create tailored solutions that meet specific user needs. Custom forms can be built effortlessly, which not only improves user experience, but also streamlines data connection. And it doesn't stop there, because you can automate the processes, which is another key benefit, which reduces manual tasks and can reduce errors, leading to increased efficiency and better productivity, also increase happiness amongst your employees. Additionally, the ability to integrate the data from different sources allows for a more holistic view of the information and better decision making. Finally, the low-code approach empowers users to develop and deploy applications quickly, fostering innovation and responsiveness within the teams. So no matter whether you're using Power Apps yourself to create these applications, quick applications for yourself, or you're having a company such as us, a Microsoft partner, come in and build these apps for you, they can be built a whole lot quicker, deployed a whole lot faster, with a lot of capability to do everything that you need. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. So we're about to, again, close out. But before we do, we just want to make sure that you know about some of our latest promos. And we have two for you. One's the efficiency boost for special, well, both of them are efficiency booster specials. One's for apps, which, oh, why is it looking like, oh, there we go. Okay. For apps where we give you a choice of a, oh, I'm sorry, that actually moved it to the, oh, okay, I see what's going on. This thing has a transition in here that I didn't realize was in here. Okay, so the first one is training. These are introductory trainings, but it comes with a live instructor that will do the training with Q&A. The price for the training, you can add as many students as you want for $1,500, but if you don't have 1,500, if that price is a little steep, we do have $150 per student with a minimum of 5 students. But if you have a lot of people you want to invite, or if you want to invite other businesses to join this with you, we're running this special right now for a limited amount of time, probably just for January. February. For February. The classes that you could do are introductions, again, Microsoft Office 365, SharePoint, Teams, OneNote, and Outlook. And we also have one for SharePoint versus Teams versus Microsoft Groups, and which one to use when, because we know that a lot of people get confused about that. So we have that as well. And then we have our apps special, which you get any choice of one of these apps that are already pre-built, but we'll brand it with your colors, put some workflow behind it. You'll get the how-to guide and a video showing you how to use it. for $3,000. That's the flat fee. There's no monthly cost. Once you buy it, it's yours and you keep it. All right. Now I'm looking to see if we had any more questions in the window because now it's question time. Actually, we're right on the dot. So no questions, apologies. But if you do have questions, please put them in the window. We will reach out to you if you include your email address, or you can submit the questions to the QR code that is with the orange box at the bottom of which topics you might want to see. You can also get the slides using the QR code on this screen, or schedule time with us or visit us or whatever. So thank you so much for your time. Apologies for the little bit of over. William, go ahead and take us away.
We're not quite over yet. I don't have any questions. This was excellent as usual, Nikki and Harry. I do have one request for a future session on leveraging Power BI to create dashboards. That's one use case that I've had used in some of my other organizations that's been pretty helpful for me from a leadership perspective to know what's happening. And I think there's some robust capabilities within Power BI to create sort of dashboards and workflows. So just putting it out there, if you all are so inclined to do a session on that, I think that will be particularly beneficial. So with that said, thanks again for another inspired session. This session, as with all the rest, was recorded and it will be posted within the Alignable technology group. I think what we also want to do is maybe get a JPEG of the QR code so we can post that within the group as well, so folks can have ready access for this information. So now that we are 2 minutes over, thanks to everyone for joining. I'll see you all in a month. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. See you.